Tag TV, and Tag Radio, rapidly becoming the leading technology new media in all of Georgia and the Southeast. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Integrated Learning Services, integratedlearningservices.com. Wait, worry, or take control. At integratedlearningservices.com, increase sales, productivity, and client retention. Lower training costs. integratedlearningservices.com. Are you ready for this? Let's just say it's not your father's distance learning technology-charged college environment anymore. No, it's a whole nother thing. Try cognitive understanding leveraging hybrid technology infrastructure for authentic experience. Huh? It began as a vision of the state legislature in 2005, opened its doors in 2007, and as of today, it has an enrollment of nearly 6,000 students heading to over 10,000. Each and every one leveraging hybrid, high state-of-the-art advanced technology and communication enterprises of the college in collaboration with a spectrum of college stakeholder communities. Centralized computing services and support, networking, telecommunications and cable TV infrastructure, desktop computing, academic, classroom, online technology, and that's just the beginning. Georgia Gwinnett College. It's about tomorrow's futuristic hybrid advanced technology and education all in one place, all at one time, now. Are you ready for this? Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, August 31st, 2010, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantella. You know it's all about hybrid technology and education, right? But did you know it was about authentic learning and cognitive understanding? Well, vision becomes reality and then goes beyond your imagination. Tino speaks with Georgia Gwinnett College VP for Educational Technology, Dr. Lonnie Harvel. A 20-year veteran of the University System of Georgia, Lonnie directs one of the state's most innovative advanced technology infrastructures and rapidly growing colleges. A former senior research scientist in the School of Electrical and Computing Engineering, ECE, at Georgia Tech, Lonnie was the director of the ECE's Digital Lab, associate director of the Center for Distributive Engineering Education, and affiliate member of the Graphics, Visualization, and Usability Center, also all at Georgia Tech. Part of a task force charged with evaluating and implementing technologies of the future to enhance learning in electrical and computer engineering, Dr. Harvel was appointed as associate director of a resulting endowed center named the Arbitus Center for Distributive Engineering Education at Georgia Tech. The development and implementation of super advanced distributive education architectures and applications, mobile interaction, telepresence, context and analysis systems, and content-based context filtering systems. As Tino takes the Tech Talk into the future of college education and beyond, as we visit the Georgia Gwinnett College and speak with its Vice President, Dr. Lonnie Harvel. Are you ready for this?
Lonnie, thank you for joining me on Tech Talk today.
My pleasure.
So, Georgia Gwinnett College, I'm assuming that hopefully all of our listeners know about the college now, but how about if you bring it to life, when you opened and how are you differentiating from the other colleges?
Well, the Georgia legislature actually chartered the school back in 2005, though the school did not open until the fall of 2006. One of the main concepts in the charter was that we would find ways to use technology to make learning more effective and more efficient. So our technologies are not only in the education side, but in some cases on the business side of the institution. We did open in 2006 with 100 pioneering students that we called juniors. We quickly found out that there is a secret code to the accreditation process, and one of the things is you cannot get accredited until you actually graduate students. So we quickly figured out if we started with freshmen, it would take us 4 years
right.
before we could get accredited. So we started with juniors. The following year we had about 800, and then about 1,500, then a little over 3,000, and this fall we've got just under 6,000 students that came in.
Wow.
So we've grown very rapidly. I mean, there was definitely a need in this region for another institution. It's a 4-year college. We offer a broad range of liberal arts degrees, and one of the things that we differentiate on is in the use of technology, but specifically the use of technology to foster student engagement. That's to keep students connected to each other, A lot of our students are commuter-based. As a matter of fact, we just opened our first dorms this fall, but also to keep them connected with their faculty, recognizing that it's those connections that actually foster better education and more effective education.
So that's kind of a good segue into what I think our listeners will be very interested in terms of the utilization of technology in the school. So can you talk about some of the other ways that you're leveraging technology to work between faculty and students and also parents and students and faculty?
Yeah, actually, one of the most difficult things I had when I started up with the school in 2006, I got here before it opened, was people kept asking me what technology was what technologies were going to roll out. And what I spent a lot of time trying to explain was, till we have a clear idea of what we want to accomplish, I can't pick the technologies yet. And as the school formed, it became clear that the student engagement component is what we thought we wanted to focus on. So then I began to turn my attention to finding the technologies that create connections between people. So it wasn't so much about the technology as it was about the people. And the technologies I selected, one that was extremely important was mobile technologies. And this was making cell phones a very central part of the activity, getting it embedded not only in our business practices but our educational practices at the very beginning of the school. And one of the ways I did that was I actually acquired cell phones and provided them for all of our faculty. And they're required to give it to their students, but we don't actually have to do much pushing. The faculty were as excited about the project as we were, and that's where we are now still. All of our faculty have cell phones that we provide to them, and we abandon things like office hours where a faculty member sits in an office for a couple of hours every week hoping somebody will stop by. And instead, the faculty make themselves broadly available to the students through these technologies. So, matter of fact, our faculty say they spend as much time text messaging to the students as they do talking to them on the phone or talking to them in person. One of the reasons for doing that is students actually, especially students today that are in the commuting world, they have very difficult schedules sometimes to deal with. They've got work schedules. Some of them actually already have families. And so this allowed the students to reach out to their faculty at the time they needed help, and the faculty then are able to respond. Of course, the faculty do work with the students to set reasonable times in which the faculty can respond, but we do have faculty that are happy to answer a request at 2 a.m., and others are saying, if you send it to me after midnight, it'll be after 10 before I get in.
Right.
But we went on beyond that. The students quickly learned that they could reach out to the student activities people, to the finance office, via text messaging and get those kind of response. And then, of course, they gave the cell phone numbers to their parents, who also will connect with us that way. And what we found was that when we created that culture, the technology implies a culture of availability. And when that culture took hold, people actually spent more time communicating, and we had a much, much better results. We've also found that our faculty actually use the technology to coordinate their own activities amongst each other much more efficiently. So we started to see some of the kind of successes and efficiencies that businesses were finding as they moved to the mobile platform. We saw increase in staff productivity, increase in faculty productivity, increase in communication between agencies, and a reduction of some of the administrative staff that was necessary for activity coordination.
How about within the classroom? Is there more technology, or is there an increasing use of technology in the classroom? One example comes to mind because TAG was instrumental at the state legislature this year of expanding the definition of digital content and allowing schools in the K through 12 to have flexibility whether they were going to use textbooks or digital content. So what's your ratio there? Are you still mainly textbooks, or have you moved to technology in that regard as well?
We've got a broad range of that. We still have, of course, a lot of textbooks, but many of the texts that we are now acquiring do have the e-book format. What we did, as a matter of fact, TAG's push on that assisted us greatly because we were able to partner with one of the local school areas. Teacher down at South Gwinnett High School, Mr. Sean Carter, has partnered with our English teachers to see if we can form online content that would serve both the AP English and AP Lit classes as well as our courses. So that's getting into the idea that this kind of content is more efficient because we can better tailor it to individual needs, and at the same time we can share it more broadly. So once developed, it has a lot more value than the traditional flat textbooks do. But all of our classrooms are digitally enabled. All of them have projectors and computers and document cameras, access to the outside, of course, and the ability for people to patch in their own technologies. That was one of the things that we decided we needed to do, was to go ahead and make sure that every space that the students would be in to learn would have the technologies available to them. And we've also ported that out into the student collaboration spaces. So there's dozens of spaces all over campus that have been set up. In some way, think of a kind of an enhanced conference room, but it is there for the students to be able to work. Because one of the things that we wanted to focus on is the fact that we wanted the students to have the kind of digital communication skills that industry now demands, regardless of what field they go into. So being literate and competent in communicating with digital technologies is something that is embedded in every one of our classes. And the students, therefore, have to have spaces in which they can work together in that kind of technological collaboration you're likely to find in a well-positioned industry today.
Well, I think our listeners will agree with me that you're a leader in a progressive school. Another way that you've demonstrated being out there in the forefront is that you are the first college to sign on for the TAG Premier membership, not only for your faculty, but for the students. How do you see that membership helping, impacting students?
It's actually going to help in a lot of really important ways. One of the obvious ones that I think most people immediately understand is the professional networking capabilities that it provides not only to our students, but to our faculty and to our staff. TAG has a lot of wonderful resources in the area and has events that allows people to better understand the technological industry in Georgia and in surrounding areas. But it also gets back to what we were talking about with the students needing to understand how their education and their careers connect. Our fancy term in academics is authentic learning. And what TAG provides is opportunities for the students to actually engage with people in the real world, see the industries in action, and so then they're better able to translate what's happening in their classroom to what's actually happening in the real world. That makes the learning experience more authentic, and it means that when they get into the real world, they'll take more of their knowledge with them. In that same area, there's this other concept that we find very important, which is called cognitive apprenticeships. And as students move out into the opportunities that TAG provides for them, they're going to meet professionals. And those professionals speak the language of their industries. They make references. And in a way, the students begin to form a better cognitive understanding, almost like an apprentice to a current practitioner. Those relationships help them better realize what that career means. Now, in some cases, the student's going to go, oh, Lord, I don't want to do that. But it's good for them to do that before they graduate from college. But for most of the students, it's this opportunity for them to really begin to experience it, begin to understand why we actually expect them to be able to do these things in class, that no, we're not just torturing them. This will be a useful skill when they get out. And we also hope that the college will be able to provide resources to the overall community in Georgia, and TAG is just a wonderful way to make those available.
Well, we look forward to opportunities to participate more with the college at the college setting as well. I have time for one more question. Give you a chance to put the crystal ball out in front of you. And what do you see in terms of future growth for Georgia Gwinnett College, and also how you'll be using technology, say, 1 year out, 2 years out, and so on?
Well, actually, those two things go very closely together. We exceeded our growth expectations for this semester. We thought to have 5,000 in the fall and 5,500 by January, and we're already at 5,800. The projection models show us sitting at about 8,000 students for the coming fall, the fall of 2011, and anywhere between 10,000 and 12,000 students for the fall of 2012. The problem is the state can't build buildings that fast. Even if they had the money to give us right now, it takes too long to put this kind of building up. So one of the things that we focused on, and this gets back to your earlier question, is hybrid learning. where we are moving more to some of the digital format for declarative content that makes it possible for us to improve the student's experience, but at the same time reduce the amount of hours they spend in a classroom and increase the amount of time they spend interacting with faculty and other students. And so the hybrid learning model is very technological and makes use of digital media, the streaming components, virtual environments, and what it allows us to do is create a better experience while reducing the amount of classroom space necessary per student. And it's that without that technological component, we simply will not be able to meet that growth rate.
Well, Lonnie, congratulations on your progress, and I'm sure you'll be advancing at the same pace or maybe even accelerating pace. And thanks for being a premier member of TAG, and thank you for joining me on Tech Talk today.
My pleasure. It was very enjoyable.